Before I tell you my story, I'd like to begin with telling you a little bit about what I believe. Because everything that I've done, and more importantly, everything that I will do, ties directly back to this. I believe that every child deserves a mentor in their life. Because lack of a mentor can mean the difference between dropping out of high school and earning a college degree. It can mean the difference between going into a life of crime and becoming a CEO. It can even mean the difference between life or death. 57% of Boys and Girls Club alumni believe that the Boys and Girls Club saved their life. I believe, like you, I am here because of the people in my life that have helped me get to the point where I am today. I believe it shouldn't matter where you grow up, how much money your family makes, and what ethnicity you are to determine whether or not you can succeed in this life. And I believe that it is our privilege as a Boys and Girls Club to be a part of a life and unlock that potential. I've been invited here today to speak about innovation and challenging the status quo. If you are not innovating in your business, I guarantee you someone else is in your industry. I walked into my Boys and Girls Club 9 years ago as a volunteer. My goal was to spend a couple weeks mentoring some kids in the community that I grew up. Now, I'd be lying if I told you that I predict that 9 years later I'd be standing in front of you today. It was a very simple and a noble mission, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was 25 years old, had never walked into a Boys and Girls Club, and at this point, there was 100 years of tradition. Boys and Girls Club was already a cornerstone in this community. It was an institution, and it was already one of the most well-respected brands that exists in this country today. But when I walked in, I asked a series of questions. I asked questions like, what do we believe? What do we do? Why do we exist? What's our mission? And I was surprised with the answers that I received. The most common answer that I received was that we keep kids off the street. It's a very noble cause. And for 100 years, that was the model. And I'm not being disrespectful to what worked for 100 years, but it certainly wasn't going to get us to the next level. Getting kids off the streets is not what's going to cut it moving forward. It's not enough. So I started asking bigger and bolder questions. Like, how are we going to break the cycle of poverty that exists in this community? How are we going to ensure that 100% of the kids that we serve graduate high school on time with a plan for their future? How are we going to make sure that every family in this community has the resources and the support system that they need to become successful? And I have to tell you, as leaders, we have no higher level of responsibility to our folks than to ask big and bold questions. But you have to be prepared for what happens when you ask big and bold questions. You get bigger and bolder solutions. And you have to have the courage and the discipline to act. Now, we have a simple philosophy at our Boys and Girls Club that what got us here will not get us there. I walked into this Boys and Girls Club and there was 100 years of traditions, and I have to say that when I walked in, I heard a lot of things like, this is how we do things, that idea is not going to work, why break something that isn't broken, why reinvent the wheel? Well, the reason is that what got us here will not get us there. That while this was the strategy that got us to this point, if we were going to stay relevant, we needed to evolve. And we only evolve by asking these bigger and better questions. If you want transformational change, small questions simply won't cut it. So we started redesigning what a Boys and Girls Club looked like and how it functioned and what it stood for. We were the first Boys and Girls Club in the country to build a relationship with a hospital and build an on-site clinic with full services. We have a doctor and a nursing staff that do everything from broken bones to immunizations. We were the first in the country to develop that model. We also, if you've been into a Boys and Girls Club, innovated the way that the experience existed within the walls of our facility. You see, if you've been into a Boys and Girls Club, you've seen the games room. And up until we took this model, it was really up to kids to figure out where they went throughout the facility. And as you can imagine, kids go where the games are. Well, if I'm going to stand behind these big and bold issues that exist in our community, poverty, the dropout crisis, teen pregnancy, I can tell you that games aren't going to cut it. So we develop what we call our impact model. And what that means is that every day, every child goes through every program. Every day they do academic reinforcement, they do fitness programming, and they do enrichment. We have programs in our enrichment calendar that range from culinary arts, Toastmasters, entrepreneurship, robotics, and engineering programs. We are equipping kids for the 21st century, for the global economy, because if we fail to do that, we fail our community. Now, if you're following the story, you probably know what's coming next. Just as innovative as it was when we introduced the impact model and this clinic and our parenting programs, it got us to this point. As we speak, right now, my team is working on the future of this business. They're innovating our current model and developing our impact model 2.0, because that's what it's going to take to get to the next level. 6 months ago, I felt myself and my team getting complacent. We started to believe our own hype. We've already done all these things, and out of the 4,000 Boys and Girls Clubs that exist in this country, we're considered to be one of the best. And if we believed our own hype, that would have been the beginning of the end. So I took 30 days away from my organization. I made a list of the 10 best Boys and Girls Clubs in the West Coast, and I visited with each one of those executives for half a day. I picked their brain, I kicked the tires, I made it very uncomfortable, and I asked really big questions. I also had the opportunity to meet with some great leaders here locally. Jim Doty at Chapman University, Frank Pierce, also a fellow Vistage member from Blizzard Entertainment, and a few other folks from Disney. And I was able to come up with the future of our organization and what was going to take us to the next level. And as you can imagine, I came back after 30 days, my team was ready, and we started asking even bigger and bolder questions. And you know what I found? They had even bigger and bolder questions than I had. And I realized I was the dumbest person in the room, and I was so proud to be the dumbest person in the room, because the team that we've honed, the team that we've recruited, the team that we've grown over the last few years is the team that we need in order to evolve our organization once again. I'm proud to stand here today as the CEO of one of the best Boys and Girls Clubs in the country and one of the leading nonprofits in this county to report that we will always evolve, we will always adapt, we will always innovate, because our kids and our families depend on us. Just this week, we unveiled the 21st Century Boys and Girls Club. This idea of a computer lab where kids get to visit once or twice a week for 45 minutes, that concept is dead. This entire facility is a tech lab. Kids touch technology the second they walk through the doors, and we have more technology in this building than the schools do across the street. We are preparing kids for the global economy because we have no higher priority, not just at the Boys and Girls Club, in this room, in this county, and in this country. We have no higher priority than to invest in the future of our kids. For the first time in our history, we face the possibility that if we don't equip our kids for the world that's waiting for them, they could do worse than this generation. I challenge you, each and every one of you, as leaders, to go back tomorrow and think about your big and your bold questions. What is it going to take for us to revolutionize our industry? What is it going to take for us to change the game? Who do we need to be, and what do we need to stop doing in order to take this organization to another level? I challenge each and every one of you to issue that same challenge to your team, and you'll be surprised what they come back with. We're the Boys and Girls Club. We exist because we have a mission. Being a nonprofit is a tax status, not an excuse to run poorly as a business. I believe that because of the scrutiny and the expectations that we have in our industry, we have a higher level of responsibility to run more efficiently than any other business. I challenge you to go back with that fire in your stomach to issue that challenge to your team and change your culture in your organization. I leave you with this. It's my mantra. It's on my wall. I look at it every single day, and it's the underlining theme that runs our organization. Success is never owned. It is rented, and rent is due every single day. Thank you very much, and good luck.